Good afternoon, and this is Fred from the Torino Film Festival. I'm Cristiana Palmieri, and I welcome you, Nada and Ayman, to the Torino Film Festival. So Ayman El Amir and Nada Riyadh are the directors of The Brink of Dreams. The Brink of Dreams is a documentary that gained a lot of international attention. It was presented at the Cannes Film Festival, where it won the award for the best documentary. So you must be very pleased with this international recognition.
Yeah, it's been quite amazing, and we're very happy to be in Torino Film Festival. And of course, Cannes was a wonderful launch for the film live, and it has been so far quite well received with different international audiences. So we're very excited to meet the Italian audience for the first time today.
Absolutely, this is a great pleasure.
Yes, I think for me, it's not my first time in Turin, but this time it's very special because you are screening the film, and international recognition for the film. Also, I think it's very important for us because also it sheds the light on the troop of the girls that we were shooting and their activities in south of Egypt, and also what they are calling for in terms of women rights and women empowerment. So I think that's very important for us.
Yes, Ayman, you have summarized a lot of themes that are actually addressed in the documentary. And so let's talk about the documentary, which tells the story of the girls of the street theater company Panorama El Barsha, which is also the name of the remote rural village where they live. And what is interesting is that as we watch the girls rehearse and later take their performance to the street, it becomes even more remarkable the fact that they didn't have any formal training, right? And they didn't even know that street theater existed. So would you like to elaborate a little bit of that? Because it's a very interesting angle. Another?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think art is a necessity and also a spiritual need within us all. And I think, yes, of course, formal education is quite important, but I think we also underestimate often the heritage of art that is very diverse in different places in the world. So where they come from, the south of Egypt is quite rich in folk stories, in folk songs. They have their own sort of artistic heritage and language, which I think is quite important and rarely ever. Sorry. It's quite important, and it's not that much documented or seen. So and of course, like I think. Right now, these young women all over the world are looking at knowledge from the internet and from different resources that weren't available 10 years ago. So they're also kind of always eager to learn and to explore through different means.
Yeah, and you touch on a very important point, Nada, because there are many scenes in the documentary where the girls are really connected through their phones. And then this is a kind of a stark difference between the surroundings of the villages. Is something that you really wanted to capture in your documentary?
Yes, I think we wanted to capture the world in which the girls are living, which means that they are living in a rural area. You see a lot of greenery landscape, but also you see the population where they are living in houses that are very close to each other. There's lack of privacy somehow, but in spite of somehow the restricted economic situation of this area, I think the girls are still be able to think about themselves and to be able to seek for the knowledge through internet and through their mobile phone, which is somehow is a power to understand what's happening in the outer world and trying to know how they could perform, and also to know what's performance, and also how maybe the girls at their age in different areas in the world also express themselves. So I think it was important also to address that in the film, how the girls know about performance. But also, as Nada said, I think also, even if they don't have a proper formal education, most of their performances are inspired by their heritage and by their folklore and by their also personal experience, which makes, I think, their performance very spontaneous and very urgent at the same time.
Yeah. And in fact, there is another angle that you capture in the documentary that I think is really important to address and comment on, is the mix between the tradition, the folklore, and this very unconventional, almost revolutionary way as a form of art, which is a street theater. And this is a contrast that works very well in depicting this story.
Yeah, I think like for the girls, they are connected to their community. Like they grew up with these songs and these folk stories and with that heritage, and it's part of how they express themselves. They're proud of it. But the way they utilize this material to express themselves and critique society and just stand up for women and for girls like them is quite creative and impressive. And I think. Like you said earlier, their togetherness and connection helps them explore and push boundaries and be creative. And I think we were lucky to be able to capture that explosion of creativity in the film.
Yeah. Ayman, would you like to add something
Yeah,
to that?
because it's very interesting. Yes, most of their work inspired by the heritage and folklore, but also let's not forget is that most of the songs, for the old songs, actually somehow they are patriarchal.
Absolutely.
But
I've
actually
noticed that in the lyrics.
But they are actually changing the lyrics and make it their own and make it actually more critique of their own society, which is interesting how, again, they are working and they are redefining their art and redefining their situation.
And talking about patriarchy, there is an excellent scene in the documentary when one of the girls argues with, I believe was maybe her brother in a shop, and they have a conversation which is really patriarchal. When he says, well, you have to marry and be a housewife, right, and mother. And she says, well, I want to go to Cairo.
Yeah, I think like in the film, we try to capture the different ways in which patriarchy works. Like, because I think we often also have that image in our heads that patriarchy is only conveyed through violence. And like you see in that scene, like the brother is not violent, he is humorous, he's just making fun of his sister. And there is a loving bond between them for sure, but he is kind of breaking her down and breaking her ambition down by just not criticizing her but making fun of her dreams. And
exactly. Making fun of her dreams.
And that's how a lot of the time kind of women eventually lose their voices by simply being mocked too many times, or and at some point they don't believe in themselves anymore. And for us, it was interesting to explore the different ways in which patriarchy functions.
I have one last question, which probably not particularly original, but I think is important to talk about that. How did you discover the story, and why did you want to tell this story? What did inspire you? You might have answered this question many times, but I think it's important because it's, you know.
Yeah, we were working with, back in 2016, we were working with feminist institutes who were working in remote areas in Egypt to empower women through arts.
Yeah.
So we were meeting a lot of young generation groups working in theater or music, and that's how we met for the first time Panorama Barsha troupe. They were performing in a nearby village, and we were very mesmerized actually by how they perform, how they confront the audience, how they interact with everyone, and how they are very confident about what they present to their community and to their society. I think for us it's a coming of age story in which we want to ask a question: if while we are growing up, can we still have our own freedom? in spite of the societal and the religious and the economic situations. And also it's a question about the women actually also position and situation in society, because in this area also the women rule in public spaces is very, very rare. But these women actually break that rule and trying to actually have their own again space.
And Nada, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I think like for us, it was also like how the girls are very, very free in the streets and very confident and quite critical of everyone was quite a surprise for us. I think it made us also question how free we were, like artists living in the city, educated, like with so many means. But I've never thought to myself to do something that courageous or that brave or confrontational. And I think we were challenged by that, and we wanted to explore how come they were able to be that free. And like Ayman said, like I think we, as we follow the film, we understand that it's also a matter of age. Like when you're that young, you can do anything in the world.
Yeah, definitely. You feel unbreakable, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So thank you very much, Nada and Aiden, for your time. Enjoy the festival. And this is Fred from the Media Center at Torino Film Festival and Cristiana Palmieri for the Festival Insider.